Welcome to the Lessons from Your Hairstylist podcast, where we uncover and leverage your unique beauty and personal style. I'm your host, Sarah Cruz, a beauty industry educator and hairstylist with 30 years experience. This show is dedicated to providing you with insights and practical advice for living a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled life. Experience that special stylist-client bond right here as we dive into conversations with experts in beauty and wellness. Here, you'll gain valuable tips on personal style and self-care to empower your journey. Join me to unlock the secrets to living beautifully well while elevating your lifestyle, mind, body, and spirit. Your appointment is now, so have a seat and get ready for transformation. Well, hello and welcome to the Lessons from Your Hairstylist podcast. I'm your host and hairstylist friend, Sarah Cruz. I cannot believe we are already through October. I did 2 podcasts on fall hair, which really had to do with your hair falling out or getting thinner during this time of the year. And we spoke about curly hair. So if you're interested in that, go back and listen to those episodes. But now we're into the first week of November. It is just crazy how time flies. This week, I did not 1, but 2 things to my hair. I hardly ever even get my hair done in the salon. I put it off as long as I can because, believe you me, I have zero patience for anything like that. I hate getting my nails done. It takes too long. I don't like getting my hair done, so I put off getting my roots colored for as long as I possibly can. Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, you may see that my hair looks a little bit darker, or maybe you just can't tell a difference. I don't know. I feel like I'm an absolute brunette at this point. This week, not only did I get my hair colored, but I also got a Brazilian blowout. And for the longest time, I have been thinking about getting this done because my hair texture is just so frizzy. It's like as I get older, my hair looks just angry. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I feel like it's just got like this really angry texture to it. That's the only way I can describe it. And if you have hair that just does not cooperate, maybe the texture is not good, maybe it just feels rough, it doesn't feel smooth, or if you're just like tired of your curl and it feels like super frizzy all the time and you struggle, you might want to check into the Brazilian blowout. We're going to talk about what that is today. Because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people will say to me like, oh, a Brazilian blowout. I thought that was basically just like getting a blowout at the salon. And so the name is a little bit misleading, I guess, sometimes. But a Brazilian blowout is actually a keratin type of treatment that smooths your hair in like a permanent way. Not totally permanent, like it's not going to last forever, but it will last a while. And then you can continue to get touch-ups kind of like you would on your colors. So we're going to talk about that today. But yeah, I got my hair colored in the salon yesterday after I got my Brazilian blowout, and my roots were just so far out that I thought, you know what, let me just get this done. Let me just find, get my friend Jackie. I'm going to get my friend Jackie. I'm going to have her slap some color on. And, I record what I put on the last time? Because I've started doing just color on my hair instead of highlights because I'm so gray. I don't know why I'm telling you this entire story. But anyways, all that to say, we were just in a big old hurry. I didn't even record what I put on my hair last time, but I am loving the gold tones more as far as hair color goes right now. I don't know where you stand in that, and if you are a blonde or you're a brunette with highlights. I know the iciness and the no brassiness has been a thing for a long, long time, and a lot of people don't like to see yellow or orange tones, but I am really into it. So I did that on my hair the last time I colored it. Didn't write down what toner I used. Didn't write that down at all. Of course, was in a hurry again. So, just a few of us got together and we're just talking about, some different ideas for the toner we could put on, and everybody had a different idea. And I was like, guys, let's just do it. Let's just put something on. It doesn't matter. Let's go. It'll be fine. It'll be rinsed out in 2 weeks. And so this is what I ended up with. I do feel a little brunette, but actually I like the warmth. It's very fall to me. It's as fall as I would want to go, I would think. It feels less like the sort of orangey brassiness, which I say brassiness, that's like a trigger for a lot of people, but actually I kind of like the orangey tones. So I was sort of
thinking I was going to dive into a little bit of like fall, like orangey color in my hair. But no, it kind of ended up a little bit more just like neutral brown. And maybe you're looking and thinking it's not brown, but I feel like it kind of is, but I'm not mad at it. I love it actually for a change. But the other thing is that I got this Brazilian blowout. I'll get back to that. I know I just rambled about my hair color, but that's just all that to say that if you do go to the salon, and sometimes if you're a blonde or you're a brunette and you get highlights, and what if your toner takes or grabs a little bit too much, I guess I'm just here to tell you that everything is temporary. So it's not anything that you have to panic about. It's a demi-permanent color. It will come out. So I'm going to enjoy this for a few weeks until I get back to my basic natural color. But we're going to talk about the Brazilian blowout today. Now, like I said, a lot of people don't know what that is. So I'm going to explain to you what a Brazilian blowout is. So again, it's for people fighting frizz, puffiness, humidity, and for anyone who wants just a way to blow dry their hair and just have it just be nice. Like, just take the blow drying time down quite a bit. Take the styling time down, just make the texture nice. And I'll tell you, it feels great. My hair feels so nice. And I actually tried to put a little bit of texture in it, and it's so smooth that it actually doesn't even want to take any. So that might be the other side of the coin where, it could be a little bit too flat, a little too straight, but we're going to talk about the effects that it will have on different hair types. And if it's for you, by the end of this episode, you'll be able to know, is this something I want to look into? So we're going to go section by section. I'm going to give you some clarity, and you can decide if this treatment is something that, you might like. And we are going to weigh the pros and cons, as well as something that concerns me a little bit as well. What is the toxicity level of a Brazilian blowout? It's got to be strong if it's going to reposition the hair, and it's going to make it smooth and straight more than temporarily. It's going to be something that's definitely got a chemical to it. And we're going to talk about what that chemical is. So without further ado, what is the Brazilian blowout? It is a professional smoothing service. It doesn't permanently straighten the hair. It doesn't chemically relax like a traditional sodium hydroxide or thioglycolate relaxer. It's a semi-permanent coating treatment that actually wraps the hair fiber and helps the cuticle lay flatter, and it reduces frizz. It improves the shine. It makes the hair behave in a more controlled and predictable way, which is very important to me because I just struggle so much. So you can think of it as like putting a very thin, flexible raincoat on each one of your strands, like each one of your hair strands, so that the moisture in the air doesn't puff it up as easily. So if you have a very strong, natural curl or wave pattern, most of the time with a Brazilian blowout, your natural pattern is going to remain there, but it's just going to look calmer and sleeker, and it's going to be way easier to style, which is what I love about it. Now, I will say what you notice right away is actually a quicker blow dry time. It is definitely a smoother finish with way less effort. It's got a lot better resistance to humidity. If you air dry, the overall shape looks more polished and less fuzzy, which was super important to me. And if you heat style, you actually get there faster and it stays longer, which is really nice. So we're going to talk about what's in it and why it works. So first of all, let me just explain. Hair is actually made of a keratin protein, and it has this outer cuticle that opens and closes. It's kind of like shingles. It's like when the cuticle is lifted and it's rough, the hair grabs the moisture and it swells. And that basically just reads as frizz and dullness, which is annoying. When the cuticle is compact and sealed, light actually reflects it evenly, and the hair will resist the swelling. So that's what the Brazilian blowout formula does. It actually uses a blend of proteins and cross-linking agents that temporarily bond to the outside of the hair. Heat first from the blow dryer and then from a flat iron is what activates those bond-forming ingredients, and it locks in just a smoother film around the hair fiber. Now, historically, some smoothing systems, including versions under the Brazilian blowout category, used ingredients that either contained formaldehyde or released a formaldehyde gas under heat. The point of those ingredients was basically simple. Stronger cross-linking is going to equal longer-lasting, glossier smoothing effect. But today you'll see a spectrum, which is really important because that formaldehyde is super toxic. And it's something that I actually worry about a little bit too, not just as someone who's receiving the treatment. And this is the first time I've ever received the treatment before. I never did it on myself. I don't know why. I never dove into it. And finally, I just got so frustrated with my frizziness that I was like, let me do it. So I am a little bit concerned. I do get concerned about the toxicity of it and that formaldehyde that's in the product. My friend Jackie was making fun of me the other day, and she just thinks I'm a hypochondriac anyway, which I am a little bit, but she was just making fun of me because I was a little bit paranoid about the formaldehyde, but I'm also a stylist. So I am essentially breathing these chemicals in when I'm doing the service as well. So not just someone who gets the service, but somebody who repeatedly does the service behind the chair, it is a concern. For me, it definitely is a concern. So, now you're going to see a whole spectrum. So you'll see formulas that still rely on the formaldehyde releasing chemistry. And then you're going to see others that are like a low formaldehyde and alternatives that avoid it altogether. But typically, when the products avoid formaldehyde, unfortunately, you're not going to get the same result. You're not going to get as long of a time out of your results. And the common element across the systems is the concept that you're going to deposit a film and you're going to seal it with heat and keep the cuticle compact. And unfortunately, formaldehyde is something that is very effective in creating that sealant and repositioning the hair. Now, unfortunately, higher octane chemistry tends to deliver a crispier, glassier result, and it lasts longer. And then the gentler chemistry is just not going to deliver as smooth of a result, and you're not going to get as long of a result. You may have less potential irritation and fewer fumes, but it's not going to last as long. So basically, you just have to choose based on your priorities. Do you want maximum smoothness and longevity versus a gentle chemical profile? Now, for me, I'm so impatient and I don't want to do my hair very much at all. And so I probably will be opting for the version that is a little bit more toxic. That's where we are, convenience. So but anyways, let's talk about what the process is actually like. What is it like getting the Brazilian blowout? So the first step is if you're interested and you seek out a salon that does Brazilian blowout or any type of keratin treatment. I'm speaking of Brazilian blowout specifically, but Brazilian blowout is actually a brand. It's actually a specific company that delivers a keratin smoothing treatment. But there are other companies and other brands out there that do very similar results. So, but I have a Brazilian blowout myself. So that is what I have. You have keratin complex. You've got just a whole host of others, but mine is the Brazilian blowout. So we're going to call it Brazilian blowout, but we're talking about a smoothing treatment. So the first step when you go into a salon is basically your stylist is just going to check your hair density, the health of it, talk about your color history, your bleach exposure, and your styling habits. You really want the stylist to be asking you about sensitivity to fumes, scalp health, and respiratory concerns. Now, you don't want to over apply the product because yes, it will definitely burn your eyes. It'll burn your throat. It'll burn your nose if you are not applying correctly. So if I were doing this on a client, I would be extremely cautious. I would not over apply. And I am very, very particular and detailed when I do a Brazilian blowout. I also don't want to be breathing in excessive fumes myself. And I definitely don't want the client to either. So I'm very cautious about that. Those are some concerns that you might want to discuss with your stylist. Now, step 2, they're going to prep and cleanse your hair. So the hair is going to be shampooed in a strong pre-treatment cleanser to remove buildup, oil, and any silicones that are going to block the adhesion of the product. Some systems use a clarifying shampoo. Others use their own prep. Brazilian Blowout does have their own shampoo, so we use that. And then step 3 is the application. This is going to be the smoothing solution, which is going to be applied section by section, roots to ends or mids to ends, depending on your goals. The amount used is actually tailored to the density and the length of your hair. And the goal is just to have that even saturation without any dripping. Again, that dripping is very important, not to have any excess product on the hair at all, because that is what is going to happen. That is what's going to cause a releasing of more fumes into the air when you do the blow drying and the flat ironing. So step 4, this is the blow dry. So hair is blown dry smooth, directing the cuticle down so that the product is laying flat and evenly. And then step 5, this is the heat seal. This is where stylists are going to use a flat iron in very small sections. They're going to determine what the right temperature is for your particular hair. And then there's going to be a certain like pass count. So they're going to do so many passes on these small sections with the flat iron. And this is just depending upon, again, what your thickness, your density, and what your texture is like. This heat actually is what sets the film and compacts the cuticle. So the pass count and the temperature can be adjusted for fragile, highlighted, or fine hair to protect integrity. Because sometimes, like, finer hair has sort of it's like a skinnier hair. You don't have as much cuticle or as many layers around, so it's not as bulky or as meaty. So the more passes you do, the more you're going to deteriorate that hair fiber. So this is where it's really going to take the judgment of the stylist to determine what the hair can take and to go right up to that threshold of, how many passes do I do? How much heat am I going to use and still get the result that we want to get? So that's where the judgment comes in. You want somebody who does this service regularly so that they're proficient in it and they feel confident in knowing how to do the service. So really paying attention in that consultation is going to be so important, because you're going to feel if they feel comfortable doing this. I mean, you can even ask, like, how often do you do these? Because it's very important. Again, this is a chemical service that can potentially lead to some side effects, and it could come with some unwanted results. And this is not an inexpensive service, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you really want to make sure that the person who's doing this is very proficient. So just a little word to the wise there. Now, step 6, this is going to be the finish step. So depending on the brand, again, the hair can be rinsed out, it can be conditioned, or it can just be left sealed until the end. One reason that I like the Brazilian Blowout system is because you don't have to have that multi-day, don't wash it, don't clip it, don't tuck it back. So some systems require that you wait a period of a few days before you even put like an elastic in, or you even tuck it behind your ears. You have to just leave it just down and without making any sort of dents in it or anything like that. So that's kind of a pain. It's hard to live your life and not get any sort of dents in your hair. And if you're like me and you're always putting it behind your ear, I mean, it's probably not very practical. So I love the Brazilian Blowout because you can shampoo right away afterwards, and you don't have to worry about elastics or anything that would make like a dent or a mark in your hair. So a lot of times the total time is going to be around 90 minutes, depending on the hair length, density, and technique. That's from beginning to end a good estimate of how long it could take to get a full keratin treatment, a full Brazilian blowout. Now, how long does it last, and what affects the longevity? So the typical longevity is between 8 and 12 weeks, and some see 14 weeks and some see closer to only 6 or 8. It just depends. It depends on the person and many variables. So one thing is your wash frequency. So each shampoo is going to erode the film just a little bit. So fewer washes is going to equal a longer life. The other thing is going to be cleansers. So sulfate shampoos, strong clarifiers are going to wear off the product a lot faster. So you want to try to stick with something that is sulfate free. The other thing is your lifestyle. So if you're swimming in the ocean a lot or frequently in a chlorinated pool, this is definitely going to shorten the longevity. And basically, so does daily intense sweating. So if you shampoo more because of that, then you may not get as much longevity out of it. Heat styling. Moderate heat styling helps maintain a smooth finish because it keeps the cuticle compact. So that's one thing, is like you know that you're going to probably still heat style your hair a little bit to get the shape that you want. It's just going to be easier to get the shape that you want, and it's just going to lay nicer. So you can still heat style with a keratin treatment with this Brazilian blowout, which is the nice thing, is because you can still style it like you normally would, but you're just going to get a better result. So I love that part as well, because my hair swings and it actually feels like like a child's hair again, in a way. It doesn't just, when I move it around, just like stay there. It's so weird because my frizziness was just, I could put my hair in a position and it would just stay there. It wouldn't fall. It wouldn't swing. There was no movement to it. So if that sounds like you, the Brazilian blowout is so nice for that part, because it actually makes your hair feel like hair. And you can actually feel a little bit of like a weight on it, where it's moving and it kind of moves together. I know that there are people out there that are like me, that have literally like run their fingers through their hair and their hair just literally stays in that position, which is so annoying. It looks terrible, but that's what I always hated too. So for this is great. I can kind of show you the results here, but I could just basically just run. I mean, it just pops back to where it was. And so it's really nice. It's really smooth. This has not been flat ironed at all. So if you're on YouTube, you can see that it hasn't, there's been no flat ironing. It is just, it's straight, and it feels really nice. So, okay. So for hair health, now porous and highly highlighted hair, which mine is not actually. My hair is almost all gray, and I just put a color on it. I put a high lift color on it only for like about 10 minutes or so, almost like you would do a base breaker if you're a blonde. So my hair doesn't have a lot of bleach on it. I mean, contrary to what it might look like, it's actually in very good condition. But if your hair is porous or highly highlighted, the hair is going to soak up the product, but it can also lose it faster. So balanced moisture and protein also are going to help hold the result. So hair definitely in your hair care routine afterwards is going to need moisture and protein, because those two things are very important to the health of hair overall, and it gives the product something to really stick to. What you will not see in a Brazilian blowout or a keratin treatment of this nature is a hard line of demarcation like you would in a relaxer. So with a relaxer, you would see where the hair is growing out, you are going to see the texture be totally different. But with this, it just wears off very evenly. And so you're never going to see that line. It just fades evenly. So the roots don't ever look wildly different from the ends, and everything just slowly returns to baseline, which is nice. Now, toxicity, again, going back to this, here's a really key point. Ventilation and technique matter. I know we just covered this, but if a formula is releasing fumes under the heat, a well-ventilated space and a very trained stylist, once again, is very, very important. The main historical risk has been to stylists doing many treatments per week in poorly ventilated rooms. So if there's a risk to these treatments, then it's really more for the stylist who's doing it in an unsafe environment. So probably not so much for the client, but if safety is your top priority, you want to ask the following things, okay? And you want to expect some really clear answers about this as well. Of course, you want to know what brand and exact formula the stylist is using, and then you want to ask them if it releases fumes when the heat is applied. You may want to check into even how the room is ventilated during the blow dry and the flat iron steps. Don't be afraid to be picky and ask questions. It's important, and your stylist should not mind explaining those things to you if it's a concern. And then you can even ask what temperature. How many passes are you going to use on my hair type? If I'm sensitive, can we consider a gentler system? And I've had clients ask me if we could do a gentler system, and we look into it, and we have modified our approach before because the toxicity was a concern for them. So I never mind those types of questions as a stylist myself, and your stylist should not mind those as well. Now, if your eyes or nose burn during the heat step, you need to say something. You want the stylist to pause, adjust the airflow, lower the heat, or switch their approach. Now, if you want to minimize chemical exposure further, you could consider alternatives, but you're likely going to trade a bit of the sleekness or the longevity. You will get a quieter chemical profile, but it is a trade-off. Okay, next, let's talk about who a keratin treatment or a Brazilian blowout is actually for. So an ideal candidate is somebody whose hair actually balloons in humidity and it looks larger and fuzzier by midday. That is a super annoying thing to have happen. You leave the house in the morning, you think your hair looks great, but you just know the moment you step outside and there's any humidity, it's just going to turn into a puffball. And it's so hard to control unless you have something like this to help with that situation. So it's good for that. It's good for medium to thick density that can actually handle some weight on the cuticle, because you can actually feel the heaviness of the Brazilian blowout. When I go to shampoo my hair, I can definitely tell there is some weight in my hair. And so you want the hair to be able to support that. It has to be in the condition and thick enough, dense enough to be able to support a little bit of weight. And your stylist will be able to tell you if yours is that way or not. It's also good for people that have wavy to loosely curly textures and they just want to blow it out smoother and faster. It's good for people who just want a consistent, predictable result with less daily effort. That is me. I'm always after that. Typical problems that it solves is it's the blowout that looks good for an hour and then frizzes at the nape and the hairline. So this solves that problem. It's just super annoying. Afterwards, you've gotten a blowout and then you start to frizz around the hairline and around the nape of your neck. This is great for that. If you are somebody who likes to air dry, but it always looks fuzzy and you kind of want like that wash and go, this just makes life so much easier. This is also for people who have a styling routine that's been taking them like 45 minutes and way too many passes with a flat iron. That was also me. It just took so much to control my frizz that I was just burning it out. So my hair was not depleted of moisture because of color or because of bleach. Heat was actually my biggest enemy. And so this is definitely saving me that. And I love it for that reason. This is also for someone who just has a halo of static and frizz that shows up in dry climates or in heated buildings. It's great for that. It helps to control that. Now, who is it not for? Proceed carefully or avoid this if you have very fine or low density hair. Smoothing can make it look actually very limp. Now, I am on the cusp of that. I will admit. I like how smooth and sleek it is, but it definitely does not have any volume at all. I don't hate that. I could curl it if I wanted to, but my hair doesn't usually look great curly. So I probably will wear it straight, but it is very, very devoid of much volume at all. But it's kind of a trade-off. My hair is fine. I have plenty of it, but each individual strand is fine. And it really will collapse the hair. You will not have a lot of volume at all. So if that bothers you, this may not be for you. If you are somebody that has severely compromised hair, so if it's just over bleached, it's just mushy, it's just stretchy from that bleach, heat sealing can actually push it right into breakage. So that's not something you want. It's probably breaking on its own and you don't need any help with that situation. So you want to just rebuild the hair first with protein and bond care and then just reassess. And then later on, you could be a candidate for something like this. Also, it's not great for somebody who has tightly coily textures that want to wear their curls naturally most of the time. So the film can actually relax the curl definition when you have somebody who has very, very spirally, very tightly curled hair. It can actually mess up their curl pattern a little bit and it just won't look as nice. And you might not like the softer pattern that it produces. So it may not be for somebody that has those really like tightly coily textures. The other thing is if you have scalp or respiratory sensitivities, this may not be for you. You definitely can smell it. And if the salon cannot answer the safety and ventilation questions that you have directly, you might want to skip it or seek out another salon. Also, if you're relying regularly on clarifying shampoos to take out the dirt and the oil or any product buildup, and you're doing that a lot, then you are going to strip the product right out of your hair. And it is going to be kind of a waste of money because those clarifying shampoos are just going to not work in your favor. They're going to take the product out and you're not going to have the results for very long. Now, some people want to know, how is this Brazilian blowout going to interact with my hair color and my toner? Back to my hair color again. I did this hair color after I did the Brazilian blowout, and here's why. The heat step can actually shift a fresh toner slightly into a warmer or lighter color. So if you're liking the toner that you have and you're liking the color you have, it could be affected by the heat step. But in general, you would want to do your color first and then do the smoothing. The finished smooth cuticle can actually make color appear shinier and richer, which most clients actually like. If you color after smoothing, that's fine, but just see a stylist who's going to protect the mids and ends and use gentle cleansers so you don't strip the film away immediately. For vivid colors and toners, many stylists tone after the smoothing on the same day using formulas calibrated for the slight shift from the heat step. Now, once you have the service done, what is the maintenance like? You're definitely going to want to use the right shampoos, conditioners, styling products, all of the things. So let's talk about what the maintenance would look like. For shampoo, use a sulfate-free cleanser labeled safe for smoothing or keratin services. You want to definitely avoid sodium lauryl sulfate and sodium laureth sulfate. Avoid salt scrub shampoos and beach spray residues. None of that, because all of that is going to help lift that product right off the hair. You're not going to have the longevity. As far as conditioner, you want something that's hydrating, a silicone-friendly conditioner. Slip helps keep the cuticle gliding and prevents friction and wear, so that's great. A mask is great. Once weekly is enough. Look for masks that balance moisture and a small amount of protein. You don't want too much hard protein, just like full on with protein, because it can make the ends a little bit stiff. If you're going to do a leave-in, do a lightweight cream or a serum. Oils really should be used sparingly. Okay, so let's talk about heat. Now, heat. You can use heat. The whole point is fewer passes and lower temperatures than before. And it does work that way. It does make it a lot easier. So a single smooth pass as a moderate temperature beats multiple high heat passes. That is very true. As far as brushing, use a cushioned paddle or a Bore nylon mix to minimize mechanical abrasion. You don't want abrasion on the hair shaft. Swimming, before you go in the ocean or the pool, just wet your hair down with tap water and apply a light conditioner beforehand. This way it fills in the hair so that the salt and the chlorine can't penetrate in as much. And then just rinse immediately after you go swimming. Clarify only when necessary and follow with a mask. Now, let's talk about some comparable services that have a lower toxicity. You have a spectrum. You've got traditional keratin treatments, so they're often heavier, sometimes require a 48 to 72 hour don't wash or crease window. They can be very sleek, sometimes flatter. Longevity similar or a bit longer depending on the brand and chemistry. You have the Saison type system, which is marketed as formaldehyde free. It's a gentler inhale experience. The results, though, are softer. It's smooth, still good frizz control, but usually slightly shorter wear than most of the more aggressive systems. It's great for clients who prioritize a quieter chemical profile, though. So if that's you, then you could look into something like that. You have Goldwell, Carasilk smoothing. There are newer iterations as well, and there's similar customizable systems, but they aim for balance, meaningful frizz reduction with controlled chemistry. Then you have amino-based or carbocysteine systems, which reduce frizz and bulk without pin-straight results. Often good for curl wearers who want a calmer halo, but still want to diffuse the curls. Now you have thermal reconditioning or a Japanese straightening and relaxer system. This is in a completely different category. This is permanent reconfiguration of bonds. It's very sleek, very straight, high commitment. You are going to see a line of demarcation there as it grows out, and it is a bigger integrity risk on lightened hair. So, if you're somebody that just can't take it anymore and that's what you want, and you never have to want to worry about ever straightening the same hair again, you could go that route, but you are always going to have to touch up the roots. So just a more aggressive result, something to think about. Next, you also have bond builders, K18 or Olaplex. These are not actual smoothing services, but they do rebuild and protect the internal bonds. So these are great paired with color just to keep the hair stronger, but they don't control frizz the way film forming smoothing services do. Now, if your priority is the lowest possible fume exposure, start your consult with the Saison type options or customizable smoothing systems and ask for conservative heat and pass counts. If your priority is maximum sleek, you're likely going to choose a stronger system and accept more rigorous ventilation needs. Let's talk about cost. Now, The common cost for a service like this is going to be somewhere in the $250 to $450 plus category. And the first factor of this is going to be the time. Very long, very dense hair clearly takes more time. It's also going to take more product use. So more ounces used are going to equal a higher cost. This product is very expensive to buy in the salon. So salons are definitely going to upcharge for more product used. Definitely the expertise. If you have seasoned stylists who are faster and more proficient at it, they're going to charge for their precision and for safety. Definitely ventilation and setup. If a salon really invests in air handling and extraction, and they are covering their overhead and making the service safer, that is going to definitely impact the price. Now, if pricing is far below the local norm, this is where you want to ask some really direct questions about the brand, about the technique, and the ventilation. A bargain price means nothing if the process is going to be sloppy or the air quality is going to be ignored. It's very important. Some of the questions that I typically get about the Brazilian blowout or a treatment somewhat like this is, again, is it going to make my hair pin straight? No. It smooths your natural pattern. You can still wear waves or curls. They're just going to sit calmer and they're going to be more polished, and you can style the hair faster with the heat tool than you were able to do before. Another question, will it damage my hair? So the service uses heat, so compromised hair must be evaluated carefully, obviously. On healthy, medium to thick hair, results are typically positive when executed with correct temperatures and passes, but overprocessed hair is definitely going to need some rebuilding first, just because of the heat. Heat is tough on hair. Another question I get is, can I wash my hair the same day? Now, with a Brazilian blowout type of service, usually yes. So that is the big draw for me. I wanted to know that I could, and I didn't. I waited a few days to shampoo my hair because also I'm trying to preserve the longevity because I hate to sit and get my hair done at the salon. So I wanted it to last as long as it possibly could. But you could, if you wanted to shampoo the same day, you could do that. So that is a huge selling point. You just want to follow the brand's instructions and follow your stylist's instructions. Will my roots be frizzy when it grows out? No hard line. The coating wears off gradually. Now the new growth is going to be what the new growth is. It's going to be your natural texture. But the difference is that the ends are not going to be stick straight and cause a big contrast between what's growing out and what's on the ends. So you don't really see a line. Also, clients ask, how often can I get this done? Many people do it 2 to 4 times per year, pacing it with the seasons or the color cycles. You kind of try to fit it into your routine and when it works. And a lot of my clients will book it out and stagger it in with when they get their color. So we're not doing them on the same day. I don't like to do them on the same day. It's a long service sometimes. I do a lot of highlights, and for whatever reason, I just like doing them separately. So, and it seems that my clients like to come in separately as well, get one, get the other. So we just kind of book it out ahead and stagger those appointments out, but you just do what kind of works for you. When you're thinking about getting a service like this, you make a checklist, basically. Just make a decision checklist. If you haven't made your mind up about it yet, just kind of weigh the pros and the cons. Obviously, like if your main point is to reduce frizz, puffiness, and the effects of humidity, and not achieve permanent straightness, it could be for you. If your hair is medium to thick, it's enough that, it could take a little bit of weight and you wouldn't mind that it didn't have as much volume. This could definitely be for you. All of the things that we've talked about, lightened hair, of course, you're fine there. You want to use lower heat, less passes on the flat iron, and just accept that you might get a softer result just because you don't want to be using such high heat and you're taking it a little bit more gently. If you're okay using sulfate-free shampoos, that's great. You're definitely a candidate. I mean, I wouldn't think you would mind just switching to a sulfate-free shampoo, but you definitely want to do that. And then you understand that the longevity is going to be anywhere between 8 and 12 weeks on average, and it's going to just depend on your habits and your lifestyle. Definitely ask about the ventilation, the heat settings, the pass counts. Those are important questions. You just want to see the stylist talk confidently about this. and just, do your research, review the alternatives, see if you feel like you're someone that wants a lower fume option and choose it. Even though you may get a softer result, you kind of have to just weigh the pros and cons on like the toxicity and the results. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You want to be able to budget that, $250 to $450 investment. When you do that, again, you want to feel like whoever is doing this is valuing your safety and they're doing it correctly. So if you can check all of those boxes, basically you're a good candidate. If not, start with a gentler system, go back to the drawing board and just, start building the hair up a little bit and looking into some other options. But I think that a lot of us are great candidates for this if we deal with frizz on a daily basis and we're just wearing out our hair with too much heat, too much styling, and it's just taking too long. A Brazilian blowout is basically a tool. I mean, used correctly, it's a practical way to reduce frizz, speed up styling, keep the hair looking consistent through humidity and long days. It's not a relaxer. It's not magic. It's a temporary film that needs the right products and habits to last. Safety basically comes from an experienced stylist, sensible heat, and real ventilation. The best results show up when the client's goals are aligned with what the service actually does, which is smoother, shinier, calmer hair that still looks like your hair, just easier. So if you want maximum sleek and the longest wear, choose a stronger system, prioritize salon ventilation. If you want less chemical intensity, choose a gentler system and accept a softer result. If your hair is very fine or compromised, pause, rebuild, revisit later. Align the service to your hair and not the other way around. So that's basically the full picture of the Brazilian blowout. I hope that has been helpful. It's basically just what's in it, how it's done, how long it lasts, safety, all those things. If you've ever been curious about it, I think, this is kind of a pretty good breakdown to help you with your decision to see if this is right for you. I wanted to show you my result. I have absolutely loved my result. I don't know what's going on there. I think I tried to create something when I was blow drying it, but mostly it just smooths out like it's just like so sleek and straight. I mean, you can see how like sleek it is. My hair is not like that at all, but I did use some extra heat on it, trying to get like some volume in it. And I did some sort of weird adverse something. So normally it looks even straighter and sleeker than that, but I absolutely love mine. I'm probably going to continue to do it. I hope that I'm going to not be in a big hurry and a big rush every time I do it because that's just not good. But I would never do that on your hair. Always taking the precautions, always taking the client's comfort into consideration first and foremost, making sure that things are done in a responsible manner. I love doing a Brazilian blowout. It is just, to me, it is such a satisfying service. And I wanted to just bring this to you in case it's something that you've heard about and you weren't quite sure what it was. I think that because I've been asked about it so many times and people weren't quite sure what it was, I wanted to bring some light to it and also show you my results, even though my hair is sticking out in some places. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I super appreciate you being here. It's been a couple weeks since we last did an episode, but back again today. And I just want to remind you too, if you are a hair and makeup artist, we have got some really great things coming your way as far as making your life easier in the work that you do. We're sharing our systems and our framework for how we run our day-to-day business at Black Tie and Blush, which is our on-site hair and makeup company for weddings and special events here in the Nashville area. And if it's something that you've been thinking about, you're a freelance artist or you thought of starting an agency yourself, when I started, I wish that somebody would have handed me over the tools and the framework so I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. And that is what we are about to do. So stay tuned for that. And we're going to be bringing those assets to you pretty soon. They are in the process of being created, and we are getting those ready to send out to you. And we are getting those ready to offer to you so that your life can be easier. You can save time and make more money in your work and hopefully have more time for yourself and just enjoy yourself a little bit more. Make things a little less stressful, not so much work. That's what we're here to do. Again, thank you again so much, whether you're a client or you're a fellow beauty professional. I appreciate you more than you know. Please go on, leave us a rating and review. That helps the podcast to get seen to others. You don't know how much that helps, and I would super appreciate it. Until the next time, thank you again for being here with me. It's been so much fun to explain the Brazilian blowout to you, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Take care.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Lessons from Your Hairstylist. I hope you found inspiration and actionable insights to embrace your unique beauty and elevate your life. Remember, it's all about taking small steps towards a happier, healthier you. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might benefit from it. Together, let's continue unlocking the secrets to living beautifully fulfilled. Until our next appointment, keep your thoughts on your visions, your self-talk kind, and remember to keep your heart open so you don't miss any opportunities waiting for you out there. I'll see you on the next one.